In Government 2305, we're going to be using a number of terms such as government, power, politics, political system. This particular mini-lecture is designed to explore what those terms actually mean. A government, then, consists of the institutions and processes which can do two things: make the rules of society, known as laws and regulations, and allocate the resources of society through a system of taxes, subsidies, and restrictions. When you think of toolkits, you happen to think about a wide variety of tools, but it turns out that government only has two tools in its toolbox, and these are the ability to make laws and regulations and to allocate the resources of society. Now, what are the main functions of government? Obviously, providing for the defense, such as foreign affairs, is essential. Maintaining law and order within the society, protecting the resources of society, particularly the air, the water, etc., are terribly important, and providing various kinds of public services, socializing the youth, and then eventually allocating the resources of society. Now, as I said, there are only two basic tools that government has: making and enforcing the rules, laws, and conditions, and taxing and spending. Now, the question of power comes up. The classic definition of power is the ability to get others to do what you want them to do, which brings up two very obvious questions. How do you acquire power, and how is that power conveyed? Well, there are also various types of power. The Pope, of course, has a great deal of moral, religious power. Various kinds of preachers and whatnot, particularly on television, are trying to acquire political power through their positions as theoretically moral or religious leaders. It's going to be interesting to see how well that particular thing plays out. Of course, one of the big questions today, and we'll play with this later on in the course, is to what extent should economic power be translated into the political process? And the Citizens United decision, which we'll discuss later on, has given those who are extremely wealthy tremendous advantages in being able to communicate politically. One of the things that political scientists like to look at is what are the core values of society. Liberty. Americans tend to be more obsessed with the concept of individual liberty than most Western European countries. Equality. However, we break equality into two categories: legal equality and economic equality. We believe that, and sometimes actually practice, that there is legal equality before the law, but economics is another story. Now, ultimately, in a system of self-government, the people are the ultimate source of power and the proper beneficiary of governing authority. How they use that particular voice and how it is limited is a good question. Now, Harold Lasswell, who is unfortunately now dead, was one of the great political scientists, and he had a very simple definition for politics. It's the definition of who gets what, when, and how. Of course, political scientists are not usually willing to leave it that simply. They have to redefine it for the means and processes by which decision-making or decision implementation are carried out within or between societies. And that kind of wraps up our discussion of power.